You're tuned into CNBC TV 18 and this is Reporter's Diary. Let's cut across then to Shireen Ban, who joins us to take us through a special discussion on the development in the GST space. Over to you, Shireen.
Thanks very much. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has adjourned the 33rd meeting of the GST Council to the 24th of February as some opposition-ruled states sought a physical meeting. The finance ministers of these states have argued that decisions on crucial issues like real estate and lottery should not be taken at a meeting held through video conferencing. In fact, Delhi's Finance Minister Manish Sisodia said that there was major disagreement on both the issues of real estate as well as lottery. Let's hear out Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on the decision to adjourn the council meeting for today.
Some of the states wanted a meeting where members are physically present. Keeping the idea of consensus in mind, I adjourned the meeting to Sunday so that a physical meeting can be held and the same issue can be discussed on Sunday.
इतने बड़े दो डिसीजन वर्चुअल मीटिंग में लेने का क्या ज़रूरत है? इस पर सबका ऑब्जेक्शन था. ऑफ कोर्स पूरा का पूरा पॉलिटिकल डिवाइड था. ये दिख रहा था कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी बहुत डेस्परेट है. आई एम ग्रेटफुल टू द चेयरमैन एंड यूनियन फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर कि उन्होंने सबकी ये मांग स्वीकारी कि वर्चुअल मीटिंग ना करें. अगली मीटिंग अब संडे को होगी. फिजिकल मीटिंग दिल्ली में होगी.
Well, that's the Finance Minister of Delhi, Manish Sisodia. We're now joined by the Finance Minister of Punjab, Manpreet Singh Badal, and we'll also be joined by the Finance Minister of Kerala, Thomas Isaac. Mr. Badal, if I could come to you, sir, was the meeting adjourned primarily because state finance ministers wanted to be physically present and didn't want these two issues to be discussed via video conference? Or is there difference of opinion even on the recommendations of the GOM that has submitted its recommendations on real estate and lottery?
Well, I must applaud the Union Finance Minister, Mr. Jaitley, and I think he is a true Democrat. And so when we actually put forward this proposition, Dr. Amit Mitra and Mr. Thomas Isaac, so he actually acceded to this request. And as far as Punjab is concerned, this is a typical proposal that has noble intentions, but it has been presented. It was presented in a manner which was unacceptable. So I'm conscious that the elections are around the corner, but we can't compromise on some basics that I find will can compromise if we were to accord approval to this, in this video conference meeting. So, so I'm happy that we're going to meet again. There are a lot of rough edges which need to be sorted out. It was a half-baked proposal. In fact, even what rate it is going to be, it has left it to the fitment committee. So how can the fitment committee decide anything without the council, without it being brought in front of the council? So things like that. So I'm happy that we're meeting again on Sunday, and hopefully this is a major decision. And and as I said in my last interview with you, that GST Council is not a political forum. This is a place where we decide what is in the highest interest of India. We should not rush through such legislation.
So how hopeful are you, Mr. Badal, that we could see a conclusive decision on the 24th, which is Sunday? Because as you pointed out, that there are several rough edges that still need to be ironed out. The calculation of the withdrawal or exemption of the input tax credit will be decided by the Fitment Committee. That you have an issue with. There are also state-specific problems of states like Maharashtra and Punjab, which I am given to understand will be dealt with separately. There is, of course, that issue of the rate itself, whether 3% or whether we could see a 1% rate, which is also being talked about. So can you give me details on which are the points of contention, sir, that need to be addressed on Sunday?
Shireen, the most disturbing feature is that land actually, and the power to land and buildings, it falls under entry 49 of list 2. And this agenda is so in the domain of the state. And if you allow this composition to go through, this will probably be the only case, where we'll have double taxation. Because, suppose you want to lease land for 30 years, and the practice in most states is long-term leases are treated as sale of land. So somebody will have to pay stamp duty, and then there will be an incidence of GST. So this will be double taxation. So this is something which we would need clarification on. And, then about the whole reverse charge mechanism, how much would be in a development, what percentage would be residential property, what will be commercial, what rate, and the term immovable property itself, is subject to legal definition, because immovable property is plus all any interest arising out of that. So we need to go through, otherwise, there will be large-scale evasion. This is one sector in which generates a lot of black money. We need to clear this up. This can't be just because we have elections, can't be that we would want to rush it just because, elections would be declared in a couple of days or whatever.
Okay, so you're saying that we cannot rush through with these proposals merely because the elections are around the corner. But Mr. Isaac, a GOM was set up to look at the issues related to the real estate sector. The GOM has given in its recommendations. You were part of that GOM as well. The recommendations include an effective GST rate of 5% without ITC for non-affordable residential properties, an effective GST rate of 3% or less without ITC for affordable residential properties. And it's interesting that the definition of affordable housing is also up for review and reconsideration. So is there consensus, at least as far as the rates are concerned, and even on the possibility of changing the definition of what qualifies as affordable housing? Is there consensus on these crucial issues?
There is a consensus on the need to incentivize the realty sector. They're facing problem. And it is of national interest to see how it can be helped. But there are certain issues which are very, very important. One, now whatever step we make should be broadly revenue neutral. Two, it shouldn't have an adverse impact upon the basic structure of GST, which depends upon the value chain, continuous value chain. When you are going for composition, you have to ensure that they buy from the registered dealers. One issue I have with it is that you're adding capital goods also into the 80%. I don't know why capital goods should come here to ensure the integrity of the value chain. Because anyway, capital goods are bought from manufacturers and so on. Therefore, there is very little tax escape. And therefore, I say 80% is very low. It should be raised and capital goods be removed from that. That's one. Regarding the rates, some of the ministers raised that, for example, the effective rate on real affordable housing, in fact, goes up. And they are cross-subsidizing a so-called new definition of affordable housing, which comes to the RBI bank priority sector lending up to 40 lakh rupees and so on. So there are objections to that. These are issues that must be discussed in length. The GOM gives a broad outline structure within which we have got to operate, but there are very serious differences. So our objection was, now call for a meeting. We are willing to come to Delhi. What are we afraid of meeting together and discussing here? This is not an issue.
You're coming to Delhi. You're coming to Delhi on Sunday, sir. You're coming to Delhi on Sunday because that is when the council has been called to deliberate on these issues. My question is, from what I hear from both you as well as Mr. Badal, there is a long list of issues where there is no agreement at this point in time, or at least there are a large number of disagreements on several of those issues. So are you hopeful of being able to arrive at a conclusive decision with respect to real estate on the 24th?
Now, there are two issues, real estate and lottery. Now, as regards the real estate, I am very hopeful we will be able to come to a consensus, because that is a history of GST. There have been so many ideological different perspectives and so on. We have been able to thrash out the discussions. So that should be open. And I think having agreed that sector needs incentivization, well, the give and take,
right.
we should be able to reach a kind of consensus.
Okay.
But regarding lottery, there can be no consensus whatsoever. Because I have very serious objection to the way the
anyway,
GM
I would imagine
has
that's
producers.
I would imagine that's not a priority.
When I was sick, hospitalized, that's not a priority. So why try to push through along with the reality sector tax on lotteries, on which there are very cleavage, which cannot be compromised at all, and then try to push that also through?
Fair point.
I think that is not right. That's not fair. That is not in the spirit of GST Council's functioning.
Okay.
So
all
on
right.
this
And anyway,
issue,
as you pointed out, the lottery not really a priority, but
on lottery.
No consensus on lottery. Mr. Badal, I'll end by asking you very specifically, sir, what will be the top priority items where you would hope that the GST Council will be able to converge? Mr. Isaac feels confident of being able to push this through on the 24th.
Well, Shireen, the basic principle is whether you have a good law, bad law, law must be very, very clear. It should not be ambiguous. It should not be left open to interpretation. There should not be chaos, litigation. So there are so many questions which we need to ask, Union FM and the government. So as long as, those doubts are cleared and we make it can be a bad law. We don't mind making a bad law as long as it's clear. But at the moment, it is half-baked and you cannot leave anything which the fitment committee will decide later. You can't, whatever the proposals are, they must be brought in front of the council, that's all.
Sure. In fact, there are several items as per the GOM recommendations, transitional provision to be examined by the fitment committee, reverse charge mechanism, the tax rate on the shortfall of purchases to be decided by the fitment committee. So there are several such issues where it looks like the fitment committee...
I have a very clear mantra. What is good for India is good for Punjab. So if anything is good for India, we normally agree to it.
Okay.
We don't play politics over it.
Okay. All right. So let's see whether we finally can arrive.
I am full agreement with Manpreet on the issue. I am in full agreement with the issues raised by Manpreet. It was a fantastic presentation he gave, raising the issues related to the land value and so on. And his concern was shared by everybody. And I realized that the officials couldn't respond to the issues that he had raised. And he's perfectly right. It's not something to be left to the fitment committee to sort out. Fitment committee should come to the council when they meet on 21st with concrete sessions, and then we will discuss.
Fair point.
I am hopeful through discussion we will move to a kind of understanding if people take a liberal accommodative stand.
Okay, if people take a liberal accommodative stand and the fitment committee comes back with a clear roadmap and addresses the concerns raised by members of the GST Council. Manpreet Badal, Thomas Isaac, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. 24th on Sunday is when the GST Council will meet again to deliberate on the issue of real estate.
Throw the spotlight directly onto a CNBC TV 18 exclusive then. Speaking from the sidelines of the NASSCOM India Leadership Forum in Mumbai, my colleague Mugdha Varia caught up with Paul Polman, former CEO of Unilever, to get his sense of what into the making of the HUL GSK deal and how it turned into a reality. Let's listen in.
It was the idea of the current management, Sanjeev Mehta, who is very capably running our HUL business here as CEO and chairman, had actually the idea to buy them. It cost me a little bit of money, I agree with that, but I also have so much confidence in our people in HUL that have consistently delivered and over-delivered that without any doubt they will make this brand also more successful than its previous owners, and that's obviously the idea. And it fits very well with our food business. You have the Brew brand, which is very well established. You have the Kisan brand, which is a very successful brand, and most importantly we have very, very good people here. That gives me confidence that we will.
And so when do you see HUL's revenue contribution growing beyond 10% for Unilever globally?
Sorry, I didn't.
HUL's, I think, revenue contribution is still below 10% globally for Unilever. Do you see that
HUL?
of HUL? Yes.
Yeah, because the world is big, obviously, but there is no reason. With the current growth rates, we've more than doubled our business in my tenure here as well, and there's no reason why we cannot continue on that trajectory. The Indian economy is helping. It's one of the best performing economies in the world, so that's a good thing. There's still many people that need to be lifted out of poverty, which is what we tend to focus on. That's a very good thing. If the rural areas, which is still 70% of India, get a little bit more prosperous, companies like ours will benefit from that. And we've had a consistent, strong performance that you've also seen in the share price of HUL, which has been one of the best performing shares in the Indian stock market. So most people tend to agree with what we are doing. So I would say don't be too eager, stay on the trajectory, and the numbers will ultimately get there.
So you see FMCG, demand growing in India, and there were some rural shops announced by the government in the budget. So do you see that, helping the FMCG sector?
Yeah, I actually saw that this morning, and obviously, undoubtedly more will be announced with the elections coming up. So, but that will all help. The more we lift people out of poverty and put infrastructure there and help the farmers with improving their income, that will directly benefit companies like ours who deal with the bottom of the pyramid. No question about it.
This is news that both you and I can use. Now, buying a health insurance policy often becomes a difficult task due to the varying benefits being offered by different players. Now, to solve that problem, insurance regulator IRDA has floated draft guidelines for a standardized health product that will be made available across the industry and will also be offered by all insurers. Yash Jain is joining us from the Mumbai newsroom with the latest details on this. Yash, thanks for joining in. And what exactly will this standard health product include?
So Nitya, as you rightly pointed out, it's called Standard Health Insurance Product, and a consultation paper has been floated on the same. As the name suggests, it's a basic health insurance product which, once the guidelines have been approved, the stakeholder views come in, will be compulsory to be, of course, to be offered by every health insurance, every general insurance company across industry. The parameters, the specifications of this product would remain same across various players. There wouldn't be any changes which players will be allowed to do as far as the offers and the incentives under this product are concerned. Now, talking about the guidelines, of course, IRDA has also specified these guidelines, but they are at a consultation phase as of now. To talk about few of them, essentially, IRDA says that there will have to be some incentivization which will have to be done as far as early births are concerned. Essentially, if you take a health insurance policy at the early part of your life, then some incentives will have to be given. Now, of course, industry experts believe there would be age slabs which would be done, and accordingly the premium pricing would be fixed. Also, apart from that, the basic sum insured under standard product shall be 50,000, whereas the maximum basic sum insured could be about 10 lakh. Apart from that, standard product will be also offered on a family floater basis. And two very important things, the minimum entry age as far as these standard products are concerned, that is proposed to be 18 years, whereas the maximum age would be 65 years. Now, as far as the specifications are concerned in terms of what could be covered under these products, that includes hospitalization expenses, any treatment under government's Ayush scheme, also pre and post hospitalization and health checkups. So this is the broad headline of how the plan would look like. Of course, there are stakeholders' views which are invited, and once that comes in, then a final regulation would be made on the same.
Absolutely, in preliminary stages, and that's Yash Jain bringing us details of the standard health product. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Reporter's Diary. But keep it with CNBC TV 18, as up next is The Real Deal. Goodbye, and thanks for watching.